beautiful souls.
Welcome back to Empower to the People. I'm Paige.
I'm Harretta. So we are excited about the things that are to come. All right. So we are expressing gratitude for you tuning in again. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
And if you are new here, don't forget to do what, Paige?
Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us to get our message across, to get this movement going that, we've been working on to try and help empower you and empower the people.
Yeah, all of that good stuff. So where do we want to begin?
Well, I know in our last live we discussed a little bit about our personal spiritual awakening journey. And so just to tie into that and kind of play off of that a little bit, I think we're going to discuss faith and gratitude and what spiritual awakening looks like, because it is not what everybody thinks it is.
It's not, and it looks different for everybody at different stages in your life and everything.
Yeah.
The most important thing to me is just be where you are right now. So living in the moment, for sure, is very important, and not looking too far of, yes, you want to know the ideal version of yourself and keep that in mind, but give yourself grace as you are evolving into that essence, into that being.
Yeah.
So what's been important for me is I've had a lot of faith throughout my life. Gratefully, I grew up in the church. So growing up in the church and Christianity, I remember being a young girl, and it was just requirement to go to church every Sunday. You waking up, mama in the kitchen cooking, daddy coming down, getting his tie together. We eat breakfast together and head to church or whatnot. But the church I went to was a missionary Baptist church, and I remember being a young girl and hearing a message from my pastor. It's old school. Pastor D.D. Chastain. Don't that sound like old school?
Yeah.
From Alabama. But I was under 10 years old, and I remember him having a message. Now, granted, as a child, you're really not even listening to what's going on. You're just looking at people, seeing who catching the spirit, possibly doodling or whatnot. But we were required to stay in. We didn't have children's church. We were required to stay in the sanctuary. But I remember him doing a whole sermon on having the faith of a mustard seed.
Yeah.
We all know, like, a mustard seed is just a little twinkle or something. And he said, basically, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can do anything. And the scripture goes to like having the faith of a mustard seed and being able to move a mountain. So I'm going to share that with people, because that being instilled in me at such a very young age allowed me to know that I can do anything. I can move a mountain. I had that level of faith, like, well, Jesus said this, so
I can do it.
So I'm going to share the scripture with you now. I like lists. I don't do the King James Version because sometimes I don't understand that, but I do the New Living Translation. And this is Matthew chapter 17, verse 20 in the New Living Translation. It goes like this. You don't have enough faith, Jesus told them. I tell you the truth. If you had faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing would be impossible. So I always remember that through any challenges of my life, evolving and growing and being the very best version of myself is always like, okay, I see the person who I want to become, and I know it's possible. I just have to get there. So that is what keeps me moving each and every day.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do love that, because I, on the other hand, was not brought up in a home of faith.
Okay.
We did not go to church every day, or every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
We didn't even go sometimes on Sunday.
What about holidays? Because some people just do holidays.
Like mom would take us once in a while for Easter. My dad was brought up in a Jehovah's Witness family, and that really hurt his faith a lot, and so he chose not to have faith in our household growing up. And my mom wasn't particularly religious. However, they never kept us from exploring.
If you wanted to.
Yeah. But there was absolutely no, get ready, we're going to church, which I think has helped me in kind of like finding my own way organically
Mm-hmm.
because I had no influence. But sometimes I wish I did, you know, like that, like hearing that so young when your mind is still forming.
Yeah.
That like you can do anything, you know, if you have faith, the faith of a mustard seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Okay.
so I like hearing about, and for me personally, I'm just now learning more about like scripture and whatnot. So I'm
Okay.
really into watching that show, The Chosen. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all heard of it?
I've been telling everybody about it. It's so good. I think now you can watch it on Amazon Prime, but the final.
What's it about?
It's about Jesus. And I'll tell you what, Jesus is my homeboy. Like that.
Remember those shirts?
Yes,
Okay.
and now I get it because Jesus was the OG rebel, and I'm all about being a rebel, baby. Like the double Aquarius. I love a good rebellion. But yeah, but here's the thing, like the show is so good because it humanizes, you know, his disciples and who he was as a person, and he says all of this stuff, but he's such a human being, and it's so inspiring. And I have read the Bible before because I'm like, you know, we'll get into all of that, you know, on a different, like what our spiritual, you know, development looks like. But I'm like,
why we both like
because it is complex. All right, what we're going over is complex spiritual journeys and spiritual way. And once it starts, I don't think it stops. No. I mean, I'm not to the end of my life yet, but I don't think that it's going to stop.
No.
Just when I think I've learned something, I realize there's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? And anyway, I used to be very cynical and fearful. And so I was not saying that this is for everybody, but I chose to be atheist, agnostic, and not acknowledge that there was a power higher than us.
I didn't know that. Okay, so explain that. What's that like?
All right. It's very sad, actually, now that I look back on it, because, you know, I have a background in science. I went to school for biotechnology. I was going to go into pharmaceuticals. I was of the mindset of, if I can't see it or make sense of it, it doesn't exist, and that's it. And I think that it was a way of me feeling like I had a sense of control over my life and my environment, because when I grew up, I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over my sense of self and environment. Okay. And, you know, stuff happened like what we discussed in the first episode that broke me out of that and let me see that if you have faith in something, things will change for you. You know, and in my experience, only for the better. Because I need now, and all the stuff that I've experienced, I need something bigger than me. Yeah. Or something that I can see or feel to hold on to make sense of the stuff that we experience in this life. Because I can't. Yeah. I can't make sense. And you know what? I don't want to.
And I actually enjoy not necessarily having to see. To me, it makes life more magical. Like,
yes, I learned to embrace that part of myself. You know, there was a time when I told myself, I'm not creative. I'm not imaginative. I'm not special.
As an Aquarius with this colored hair,
I can't tell you where was a lot of stuff's been going down in the last couple weeks. No. I've been saying I wanted to try funky colors with my hair, and like I finally did it.
Okay,
but
I'm surprised that you would say that.
I know, right? Yeah. But this is, you know, where a lot of, which we're going to talk about in this episode, knowing thyself and breaking away from our societal and early conditioning comes in. You know, when I was a little kid, I've never considered myself an artist or creative. Okay. And I am incredibly artistic and creative. And you're laughing because everybody else knew but me, apparently.
Well, the reason why I'm laughing, it's funny that you say that, because it was like an aha moment that happened to one of my family members one time. They was watching something on TV, and I guess someone had described them as being a creative, or whatnot. Yeah. And it dawned for my family member, like, hey, I watched this, and then I just want to know, do you consider yourself a creative? I'm like, yes. Wow. You get me. Finally, you see me for who I am. Yes, absolutely, I am a creative. I don't like having titles anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
I don't, that's because it keeps you in a box.
Yes.
And that was my issue with religion, but we're going to talk about that in another episode.
Yes.
But so I enjoy being, but now it's so popular being, I am a creative. I'm a creative, you know.
And let's talk about that. Maybe by it becoming okay, yes, I'm an Aquarius, but I also hate to like, you know, be like anyone else or whatever. But I'm kind of glad that being different and being unique and being witchy and spiritual and creative and oddball is kind of popular now, because it's like, I feel safe.
Yeah.
I feel safer to be me now.
That's true.
So when I
had to battle that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I used to send some of my closest friends, like before I posted stuff, like, how is this? Does this look okay? Do I not seem to? Wow. That's a major reflection. That was probably like, about 10 plus years ago. I was just a little like, I don't want anybody to think a certain kind of way about me.
Of what people think,
you
know? And I feel like being, you know, a solo entrepreneur, you are so concerned with what other people think, because you want to build your business. You want to be liked. You want to, I mean, that's just outside of what we're taught as women, as, you know, well, hell, people in general. I mean, people pleasing is a terrible thing that we're taught to do. Like, don't make anybody uncomfortable. Be nice. Be polite. Like, at your own risk. But anyway, I mean,
that deep breath is because I released that a couple years ago, the people pleasing aspect. I didn't even know that was a part of me.
I know, and
but that goes back to knowing thyself.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I'm in the process of doing all of that, which is why I'm experiencing like a big loss of identity, which is, you know, because I'm letting that conditioning fall away. So like, I was just going to bring up the whole like artistic thing. I totally forgot and pushed away that when I was a young child, I actually won an art award. I was one of the youngest like students to win an art award for a still life that I drew. And, I just started thinking about, because I had to do a lot of inner child reflecting, and I'm like, who told me that I couldn't be like this? Well, nobody told me I couldn't be like this, but I thought, you know, I have to do A, B, and C. I have to do this. I'm very smart, so I have to apply myself a certain way. But that, you know, like I can be all of those things. I can be multifaceted. I can be creative and oddball and eccentric and very structured and intelligent and well-spoken. I can be all of those things at once. But you know, like learning to incorporate it, it's a different story. So again, in the process of knowing thyself, I live by the mantra, know thyself. And what that involves a lot is really just facing our fears and experiencing ego death. Because if anybody who understands or knows anything about the human psyche, then you know the ego will do anything to hide its shadow and hide what it's ashamed of and keep everyone from finding out. But if it's not the real you, it ain't going to last very long.
That's right.
And it's very painful, very painful. Its experience is very painful having ego death, because it's a sense of loss. It's identity loss.
To me, the ego is just the first representation of yourself.
It is. It's our conditioned self.
Yeah, it's who you show up as. If people, you know, have these titles, and who are you? Well, I'm a registered nurse, but I'm also a holistic health practitioner. And
And
but
who are you?
Exactly.
That's what you do.
That's what I do. But who am I?
It's a hard question to answer. Like, I am Paige. Yeah, that's the name you were given. Like, who are you? Well, it's hard. It's hard to sit and think about.
It is,
you know,
but it's a great tool for you to do. So try to write down some characteristics of who you are, but to the core, who are you that nobody knows about?
Yeah, who do you believe that you are? Who do you think others believe you are? Now, if you knew nobody was going to judge you ever for anything, who would you be?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be?
And that's the person that you should come into.
Yeah, which is easier said than done.
Yes.
But just starting there, just reflecting on yourself and just being like, you know, who I think I am, who I believe people think I am, and who I would like to be. It's really eye-opening and insightful. And the broader the gap between those three like versions of yourself, the more difficult it can be sometimes to like becoming authentic.
Yeah.
You know?
And part of that is choosing to how can I word this? Choosing to show up as a victor instead of victim, because we always go through challenges in life. I look at the challenges as life lessons.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes some are a lot harder than others, but I like to use the mantra of I am a victor, not a victim. You know what I mean? Like the wounds that I have, yeah, I don't see them, thankfully. But they're there. They're to the core of who I am, and I would not be the person that I am without those challenges that I had to face.
Yes.
And that is part of knowing myself. And in due time, you know, I'm going to write a New York Times bestseller memoir.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, speaking into existence. It's important.
I'm not laughing because it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So you need a friend like this to help you out sometimes. You know. But yeah. But it's a few things that I like to do to get to the core of who I am. And part of that is journaling. I know we speak to that from time to time, but journaling really allows me to reflect, go back, and to see who I have become.
I love going back and reading my past entries in my journal because we can be so hard on ourselves, you know, like I am very hard on myself. I am very critical of myself. She just called me out before we got started. Like, you're being very critical right now. You're being very critical of yourself. I'm like, all right, we're going to set this down. And one way that I like to combat that is take a little time, once in a while, and I go back and I read my journal entries and I just see like, wow, I'm really becoming who I'm meant to and who I want to become. And I say that because, God, for the last couple of years now, I have been like writing affirmations and intentions and praying, like, please help me become my most authentic self. Well, nobody ever told me that in order to become your most authentic self, sometimes it's like walking the Oregon Trail barefoot in the dark.
In the dark.
It's
so,
like,
it's exhausting.
It's hard, but you really figure out who you are.
Yeah.
You know?
And speaking of that, the dark, it's this beautiful spiritual awakening that occurs for a lot of people. That's called the quote unquote dark night of the soul. And a lot of my clientele that come in, I recognize that it starts to happen between the ages of like 27 to 31. If you go back and reflect on your life, what happened between these, it's like a paramount time in your life. That a shift
there's like
occurs.
A milestone or some
that might be a better word
of like market thing that occurs.
Yeah, I said paramount because I saw like a mountain peak to basically climb.
Yeah,
that's that. I saw the imagery of the paramount symbol for the movies. Yeah. So anyway, that's what like spirit. What am I putting? And then that image came in. Anyway, but it's like actually having to climb up into that milestone of evolving into the most authentic version of yourself, because up to there it's dictated of, okay, who you are. You might go to school for something that your parents might have suggested, or you just like, let me get this degree just because. So it's not authentically you, and that evolves. How it showed up in my life personally is, so I my whole nursing career, you know, I went from an STNA to an LPN to an RN. But when I went to school for my RN, I was about 29 years old, and I was going through an awakening to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut off all my hair. Ooh, cut it all off, right? And I remember it was literally a few weeks before I graduated. And my mom was like, so what you gonna do about your hair? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, for cap and gown, what are you gonna do? You gonna wear a wig?
No, she did not.
Yeah, that's my mama.
Oh.
Okay. She's like, what you gonna do? Wear a wig or something?
Why? Because conditioning, right? Because like you can't look like that.
Hello? And I said, no, I'm gonna wear my hair. And she was like, oh. Yeah, and that was before, like, you know, everybody wears the little lace fronts and stuff, honey. This was before then. But I was like, no, I'm going to wear my hair. And then granted, my hair was like, I did the big chop. So it was like literally this short. But I loved it. It was me.
Liberating?
It was liberating.
Yes.
It was me getting to the core who I was and not the standards of beauty that everybody else had for me. And that was like the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And that is actually, yeah, that. Okay, sorry, I'm
Just
having
having
a
an
whole moment.
epiphany. I love it. This is what happens when
Yeah, that
you reflect.
I was starting a new career and a new version of myself with my RN. But then within 2 years, boom, by 31, I changed and started my own business.
Yeah.
So it was like, boom, that was the beginning. But then within 2 years, something else shifted that allowed me to for real be in my own authenticity.
Yes.
Which I really enjoy. So it was truly a process of knowing who I am and showing up differently in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
So what happened with you? Do you have...
Yeah, actually, you know, mine was not all that long ago. I mean, it's been several years, but
I mean, I'm older than you.
But yeah, so I mean, not by much, but still. Age is just a number.
It is.
So
because I'm 25.
Can't you tell? She knows a great esthetician, so I hope so. Okay, so mine was probably around 31, so it was back in 2019. And for a while, I had, I built up my business when I was like 23.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I never planned on it. I never, ever planned to be an entrepreneur. But once I became one, I'm like, there's no going back. There's no going back. I do well at this. I figure it out on the fly and I do it well.
Okay.
And, but something just never let me, or I'll say I just never let me scale my business and grow to the point that I've seen some of my colleagues do. And, I would look at them and kind of compare myself and just be like, wow, I feel like I should be a lot further along than where I am. But something was like, I don't want to. I mean, the whole reason I'm successful at my business is because I'm the one people are coming to see.
Yeah.
And that's not to sound, conceited or arrogant, but it's like, I do the service. I'm the one they're coming to see. If I scale my business, I'm going to have to step to the back and manage.
That part.
I don't want to manage. Like, I want to do the service piece and interact with the clients that I'm bringing in, And, but when you're a creative and you're running a business and you're doing it solo and you're hyper independent, you're used to doing everything yourself, the management of a business can really wear you down. And I just, was really becoming burnt out. And I would become emotional because it was like this, my baby that I built, I don't want anymore. My baby being my business.
Look, clarity.
And, but I had started to identify so much with this persona that I created for the face of my business. And so I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, maybe this isn't really me. Maybe I don't really want this anymore. And when I first met you, I was in that phase. Because, so in 2019, I was looking for a new outlet. I was looking for something different to do. I went to California, learned from these amazing people on how to do permanent makeup. I was like, I'm going to shift in this direction, but I'm going to do this because I think I can still tie it into my business. And I was just like, oh, but I'm so burnt out. Now I'm going to have to do this. And it was almost like I was digging myself into a deeper hole. This thing that I love, that I created, has now created like a prison around me. And then COVID hit. And then I couldn't do anything. And I had to be still. For the first time in my life, I was the one who was like, I can't work. Everybody else could work remote or we're still working. And I'm like, I don't even know who I am if I'm not Paige the Archmaker, an esthetician. When people are like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I'm an esthetician. I run my own business. No. Who are you? Well, I'm self-employed. No. Like, I couldn't tell you what I like to do for fun. I was shocked when I had this realization.
And I kind of think a lot of people went through that during that time.
Exactly.
Because you had to slow down.
Yes. And we're so used to being human doings. You are not allowed to be a human being. You are not allowed to just be. And it just really cracked a lot of things open in my world to let me see, like, oh my gosh, I'm not even being my real self.
Wow.
And it was devastating because over the past 5 years, I've realized that, like, I am not who I said I was. Sorry, not sorry, but
let me introduce you to the new Paige.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people aren't gonna like her.
Yeah.
A lot of people have decided they don't like her anymore. But a lot of new people have decided they love her.
Hello.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like this lady right here. Like she likes me exactly as I am. And I'm like, really? Even when I don't like myself. But it's good because the more authentic I am, the more I attract into my life what's meant for me.
Yes, and I was thinking you attract the people that's meant for you as well.
Yes.
Because your friend circle is important, especially when you're evolving and growing into your most authentic version of yourself, of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I think that's why we attracted each other. You didn't just attract me, I attracted you as well. You know what I mean? Because we need each other. Then it was just like, we can fly our freak flags.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm into astrology. Oh my God, I'm into tree hugging. Oh my God, and we're like, oh, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that it feels so good. And I'm really big on affirming that when you're going through a transition, is affirming I'm attracting friends that are right for me.
Yes.
I'm attracting people who can understand me.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful. I have had friends for 20 plus years who've been able to transition.
Wow.
Yeah. Who's been able to transition with me, you know, and it has been some that kind of like fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
But it is some that are just like, girl, you are who you are. I always knew you was going to be like this.
See,
yeah.
I mean, those are blessings.
It is.
Like,
it truly
to
is.
have in your life. And it's, but you know, with attracting new people also comes with losing some people who have been there for a long time. And even when they no longer align with who you are becoming, loss is loss.
It is.
And it still hurts. But this makes room for the new people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of my spiritual lessons that I'm constantly learning, I'm like, why? I'm going to be learning lifelong, is letting go. And letting who and what is not meant to be in my life anymore to just go. And not fighting so hard to keep it, or crap fitting myself to a situation so that I can accommodate it or make it stay. Because the longer we do that, the longer we hold off our blessings that are trying to come in.
Yep.
And
opening up the space.
Yes.
You're intentionally letting go to open up the space for change to enter.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, when you mentioned Dark Night, I don't even like to say Dark Night of the Soul anymore.
Yeah, I just said that. That's why I put in quotations.
Because it's such a buzzword now.
Just
shadow work,
you
know, empath, narcissist. Like, okay, I'm very glad that all of this is becoming more mainstream now.
Yes.
And because it's being talked about, that's great. But make sure that we're being very aware and intentional of what we're doing, right? So Dark Night of the Soul is a very common term. I saw this wonderful episode from this content creator on here, because I was looking up, you know, shadow work and dark night and how to, because I mean, if you haven't already gone through a dark night, which by the way, we don't just go through one in life. No. There's a lot of them. So just, you know, but the thing is you get stronger and stronger and wiser every time. So this last one has been really tough for me, really. Astrologically, it was coming. It's still happening. But now I'm kind of like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is like, I can make it. I can survive, right? But it's still, it doesn't make it, you know, like it's how we perceive it. Anyway, this content creator, I'll see if I can link the episode in the description, because I think everybody should watch it if you're, she said, it's not your soul that's going through a dark night. It's your ego. Your soul is joyfully expanding and it's trying to go. But what you're feeling is your ego being dragged along the way.
Because they can feel it like, oh, you're getting rid of me.
You're resisting this evolution. And if you would just surrender and accept. But I'll tell you something, that human ego, it does not want to accept and surrender. No. It's not all of us anyway. And
I think it's one of the hardest lessons is surrendering.
Yes, and acceptance. Acceptance, because like, depending on, you know, as an entrepreneur, I don't like to accept. If I hear no, okay, well, let me try another angle. Well, let me figure this out then. But you know what? It has served me well. It's served me very well in getting me to this point, but it's like now I don't need that anymore. Now I've gotten myself to the point where it's okay to surrender. It's okay to trust and let go and not know what's coming next and not know what I'm going to be, you know, like doing, you know, in the next year or so, because I think that we're all going through quite an upheaval, quite a dark night as a collective. We don't know what's going to happen next week or next month or next year. I mean, like, this is a very, very deep time for, and this is why, but guess what? Times like this are what initiate spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and it's necessary.
And that's what's happening right now for people.
And be sure to utilize people who are well versed in these things. So, you know, search for an empowerment coach. Search for some type of form of therapy that will be beneficial for you. That those things there are people truly here to help you navigate life.
Yes, they are light workers. They are way showers. You know, like we're that.
Yeah, I was about to say,
we are they.
A lot of my clients come in like, I do not know what is going on with me. I just need help.
That's okay.
And I say, okay, let's get on the table and let's work through this.
Yeah.
And literally things will come out in a session and say, I haven't told anybody that, or, oh, I never even thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need an outsider looking in just to give you some kind of insight and guidance. You don't know it all.
Exactly.
So why not utilize other people to help you?
We are specialize. Here. And here's the thing, there are a lot of people who are have an aversion to therapy or letting someone on the outside in to help them. But it's like, you can't do it by yourself. How's that working out for you?
Right.
Okay, you don't know everything. That's your ego, again, telling you, like, I can do this myself. I can. Well, if you could, don't you think you would have by now? Okay. I mean, you're not aware. You don't know till you don't know. Till you know you don't know. But that's the whole purpose of seeking out the help of another, okay? So sometimes for therapy, like, I'll be honest, some form of talk therapy doesn't really help me sometimes.
Yeah.
Not anymore, because sometimes rehashing the old, because like I said, I have a hard time releasing and letting go and surrendering and moving forward in life. You know, I love that every time you laugh, I want to like elbow you, because I'm like, it's really hard. And she's like, why? Because she already sees the good that's coming. And I can't, or I can't trust, or I can trust, but I was afraid to trust. Okay, but...
It is, you know, like the reason I'm tickled is just because I've seen her evolution over the years, and it's very, very challenging for her. But then I'm so proud, like I applaud her, like, but you did it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's important for you to know, like, you're going through it, but me as an outsider, I see the evolution in you, and then 5 years from now, you're going to be like, oh my God, Harretta, can you believe I used to blah, 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 blah about, and I'm like,
yes. And I'm going to say yes, because it's a part of the process. Yeah. You know, back to like the therapy thing, I needed someone at the time to talk through things with me that I had worked really hard to push back and forget and ignore so that I could just cope and get through. But those coping mechanisms that I learned early on were not serving me anymore.
Okay.
It was like hitting a brick wall, and I needed to feel safe enough with somebody to pull that stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm aware. Guess what? I got diagnosed with ADHD during this process too. And I'm like, oh, so many things make sense. Which, oh my God, guess what else? A lot of people seem to be going through that now. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But okay, so what does this tell you? Collectively, people are figuring themselves out. So like, it's okay. You're meant to do this. And here's the thing. If you're not some people don't evolve and grow. Some people just get old. Okay.
And they're comfortable with that. And
that's okay.
That's fine.
That's okay. But that ain't what this channel's for, just FYI.
No.
Ain't what we do here.
No, we are very intentional about the work that we're doing. We're hopefully that you are inspired by it. And if so, leave us a little comment. Let us know. We really enjoy getting feedback from you guys.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But I wanted to bring up with the therapy thing, there are different forms of therapy and coaching and counseling and talking. There's EMDR, which is, I'll put it down here. Right there. Here's what EMDR is. But it's actually where you are watching something on the screen, like a ball going back and forth.
I had clients talk about that.
And you're just talking about the thing that's upsetting you. And again, we talked about somatics in another episode. Like, it's telling the body that even though you're talking about this thing and you're stressed out, you're safe. And it's okay. It's okay. And sometimes things just want to be acknowledged so that they can be released. Because once you bring light to that shadow, it's not fearful anymore. If anybody's seen Star Wars, when Luke goes into the cave and meets Darth Vader and finds out he's really his dad, it's like the most horrible thing that could possibly happen. But it's okay. Like, you're still alive.
I have a confession.
What, you haven't seen it? I already knew that. That's why I didn't include you on that one.
I was like, I'm going to watch one day.
Really?
One day.
Okay. All right. I'll bring the popcorn.
Okay. But yeah, I do have clients who are therapists.
Yeah.
That tend to send their clients to me because talk therapy can only do so much.
Yes. And sometimes it's just more painful for certain people than it is helpful. So
yeah,
there are other options.
Yeah. So for instance, like when people can't move forward in certain aspects of their life, it tends to cause, especially with heartbreak, losing a loved one. I see a lot of clients related to losing loved ones and not being able to move past that. So I typically really focus on their heart chakra and ask, what's going on. And a lot of times it's guilt.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I should have been able to do this, or I should have been, and it's like, well, they're not here right now, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. But you are here to live and thrive. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about it in another episode, but I had a huge revelation when I spoke to a psychic medium about my father who was deceased.
Oh.
And it shifted my entire life. It helped heal my heart. So when my clients come in, I'm always showing like my pendulum because my heart is open now. Mm-hmm. But when I lost my father, it really shifted my heart to close down. But speaking to this psychic medium helped me know and receive the message that my father really wanted me to live life. Yeah. So that's why I was able to evolve over time and really become this version of myself now. Yeah. So I like to inspire people to know that you are going to continue to have hiccups in life, but that doesn't mean it's the end game. No. You know what I mean? You have a lot more living to do. Yeah.
And it is up to you.
It's up a choice.
To you. It is they're not kidding when they say happiness is a choice. It's your perspective. Mm-hmm. It is about your perspective. I can't say enough about that. Like I spoke last time about having a different perspective about social media and using it as a tool for good, like this. Mm-hmm. My perspective of losing, someone I love very much or having to say goodbye to them, I gained a lot of knowledge about myself and of the situation in general so that I can move forward with those lessons for the next leg of the journey and be even better, instead of being like, oh, I did this wrong and I'm never going to get them back and blah, blah, blah. Because with you mentioning also guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt and shame are some of the most powerful things that hold people back.
Yep. And you just stuck in a cycle.
That is what the shadow is guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just specific to you and what you're holding guilt and shame for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, using light workers and coaches and therapists and people who are put here and specialize in helping you to uncover this part of your shadow self.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's what they're here for. It's to shine light on it and see that you're a human being. There's nothing that you can do that humans deem stuff very bad, very shameful. Okay, but you're a human being.
You are who you are.
You are.
And just know, if you're not to the place where you feel like you can share your story with someone, know that you can journal for yourself, and nobody has to have it. No. It can be a straight up burn after reading type of journal. Like, you just get everything
You can
out.
actually do that.
Yeah.
Writing down what you're so embarrassed or ashamed of or what you feel so guilty for, unapologetically, just allowing yourself to acknowledge the thing that you're having, and then burn that. Burn that piece of paper.
Yes.
Tear it up. Like the energetic force that happens with that, you're releasing it.
Yeah.
Release it. Let it go. And when you're ready, you might find that you're willing to share that with someone. So I am in a 12-step program.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the steps is doing a moral inventory of yourself and kind of finding and admitting not just your character defects and flaws, but also your attributes, your positive things. And because you can't have one without the other. And usually our defects are just very good intentions that have gone awry, gone the other direction. But the final piece of that is sharing it with your higher power and another human being.
Okay.
Because when you do that, you give it no longer has power over you. It no longer has power over you. And that is the whole purpose of, journaling or talking with somebody else and working towards this healing. Stop giving your shadow or your victim mentality power over you.
Oh, and on that note, hey, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is powerful.
It is.
Yeah,
it is
powerful.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
I kind of feel like we should end on that note.
We can if you want.
I'm just saying. So again, it is always our intention to empower you.
Empower you and empower to the people.
All right. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Bye.